Hey everybody, Black Ninja 797 here, and welcome back to another video. And in today's video, I'm going to be ranking all the Juggernog locations in COD Zombies from worst to best. Now, I'd like to clarify that this video is being recorded the day right before that Black Ops 6 officially comes out, so therefore Black Ops 6 is not going to be included anywhere within this list, and it's only going to include 5 games. It's going to include World at War, Black Ops 1, 2, and 3, and then Cold War, because Black Ops 4 never had Juggernog, and I never played Modern Warfare 3 or Vanguard because I just did not like those games, so I see no point in including them since I never ended up playing them in the first place. Now, this list is going to be entirely my opinion and my opinion alone. It's going to be based off of my experiences and how easy or hard I remember it being to get Juggernog within these given maps. And with that being said, I thought it would be very important to mention right away that nowhere in this list will you see Nuketown or Die Rise from Black Ops 2, because number one, if they were on the list, they would be at the very bottom, and the reason why they would be at the very bottom is because to obtain those perks, you basically need luck. Nuketown, if you end up getting unlucky, can sometimes have Juggernog spawn in as late as round 25, and Die Rise, since they're in the elevators, they are moving constantly, so you can literally just get to the perk and immediately have to chase it down again. Now, with all of those clarifications out of the way, let's end up hopping into the list. If you end up enjoying the list, please drop a like, but let's begin. Okay, so for the first spot, since I'm not including both Nuketown and Die Rise, by de facto, this map is going to be the automatic next spot, and therefore the worst spot on the list. This is going to belong to Moon from Black Ops 1. The way that Juggernog works on Moon is that it cycles in and out with Speed Cola, which means that sometimes you have to make 2 trips to just get 1 perk. You may or may not have to end up going to Area 51 multiple times just to get Juggernog, which can sometimes take forever. This is not quite as bad as Nuketown or Die Rise, but it's pretty damn close. At least you don't have to wait until possibly round 25, or end up having the perk leave the moment that you get there. Once it's there, it stays there. Well, that is at least until you leave again, but if you see the perk, unless you leave and go back to the moon, it will stay there as long as you're at Area 51. Next is Transit from Black Ops 2. It takes way too damn long to get set up on this map. Either you have to wait for Ted to end up taking you to town after you turn on the power by riding the bus, or you have to sprint through the fog, lava, and denizens and get there on foot. Regardless of which method you pick, it will take excruciatingly long just to get Juggernog. If only Juggernog were at one of the earlier locations, like the power station or maybe even the diner, then maybe this wouldn't be as bad. But since it's at the last location that Ted makes a stop at, it takes you unnecessarily long to get this perk. Next is the Juggernog location on Call of the Dead. Now, unlike Transit, where you have lava, fog, and denizens getting in your way, on this map, you've got frozen ice water, George Romero, and claustrophobia getting in your way, because that is exactly what you're going to have to endure to get this perk. Next on the list, I'm just going to lump these together because for the most part, they're basically identical, and this is going to be 3 of the 4 huts in Shinonuma. This is going to exclude the comm room specifically because the comm room is actually not necessarily that bad to get the Jug. It's just that I have a problem with the other 3. The problem with the other 3 that I don't like is that there's a whole bunch of deep bodies of water that end up slowing me down. You can kind of sense the theme here with certain Juggernog locations that I don't like, given the fact that the 2 before this were Transit and Call of the Dead. You can see that 2 of the things that annoy me the most about getting to Juggernog are when shit's in my way and slows me down, or if it's like a one-way doorway that can lead me to getting trapped and killed, which both of these are at play here. It doesn't necessarily help either that the perks are also random on this map, but unlike Nuketown or Die Rise, it's not like the perk is going to move once I see it, or it's going to be impossible to get before round 25 sometimes. Next on the list is going to be one of 2 Juggernog locations in Shangri-La. This is going to be the one that belongs to the Maze Trap, because even though this one wouldn't necessarily be the worst on a low round, it's when you're in a later round that this thing becomes a nuisance, because if you down in the middle of a high round, and in your given game, if Juggernog spawned here, good luck to you. Next is going to be the Juggernog location in Derice of World at War, or one of many Juggernog locations in the Giant of Black Ops 3. This area is one way in and one way out. At least for you, because there's multiple zombie entrances that can also end up being problematic. Similar to the one on Shangri-La, if you down mid-round and you need to get Juggernog again, good luck, because if you don't end up doing it extremely quick, you're gonna get trapped and you're gonna die. Next is going to be Verrucht and Ruled at War. In Verrucht, we've got something that's a little bit of a problem, which is going to be this little shit right here, which is the Verrucht Sprinters. Because these guys run so ridiculously fast that if you need to get Juggernog and he's right behind you, you are screwed. He will get to you before you can fully drink the perk and bitch slap you into oblivion. Next is going to be the Juggernog location of Keener der Toten. I love Kino, I really do, but just like Derice, it's one way in and one way out. This is not the best designed Juggernog location. If only Juggernog were on the stage instead. Next is the Juggernog location on Ascension. This location is just another cramped hallway or room with one way in and one way out, but on top of that you've also got the monkeys that spawn every few rounds, which means that it's very likely there's a high chance they could steal your perk, and you gotta subject yourself to a possible risk of getting trapped in here again, multiple times in a given play session. Next is Origins from Black Ops 2. Now, the mud, luckily for the most part, is more rather around a Juggernog and not directly on top of Juggernog. But the fact that Juggernog is still tucked away in this inconvenient little crevice next to Generator 4 makes it very risky still regardless, because you can have it where, if like, let's say the Templar zombies are in the middle of spawning, or you just get very unlucky, the zombies will have their way with you, and they're going to kill you extremely quick. And it's not like you can get out of there once you recover either, because even if you have Quick Revive and you immediately get up, if the zombies are not far enough away, and the mud, given the fact that it's still right next to you, if you're trying to run away and get out of there, the mud could slow you down just enough that it could fully kill you. This area is not as safe as you think it is. Next is Juggernog on Mob of the Dead. Now, Mob of the Dead luckily doesn't have it where there's anything slowing you down, and it luckily also doesn't have it where there's only one entrance in and one exit out. However though, this area is still not the best design, because it's still claustrophobic as hell, and this can therefore lead to many zombies jumping you and getting you by surprise. Next is going to be the only other Jug location in Shangri-La, which is going to be right over here. Now, this is actually easier to get to, not only at the beginning of a game, but also in the later half of a game. This spawn is going to be closer next to the power switch, and you also don't have to deal with the maze. There is a little spike trap, yes, but that's not necessarily as annoying. That doesn't necessarily come down to luck. There is a window consistently where you can just go past it, but the maze, it's completely RNG of whether or not it's going to just send you in a loop constantly, or just be a straight shot. Next is going to be Buried. Now, a part of me wanted to put this in a slightly better position given the fact that this is one of the most famous camping spots of all time, but I decided to place it here on the list because in single player, this is not nearly as good of a spot like it is in co-op. If you're planning on going in here in mid-round, I hope you either have a Paralyzer or a Subsurface Resonator. Next is the comm room from Shi No Numa. Now, luckily, this area does have a whole bunch of wooden planks everywhere that will allow you to be able to avoid the water unless you choose to go into it. And when Shi No Numa was remastered in Black Ops 1 and Black Ops 3, and they made it where you could end up having Quick Revive work in solo, if you ended up downing and losing your Quick Revive and Juggernog and you wanted to go get your perks again, if Juggernog was in the comm room, it was already in the main training spot of that given map. So if that was one of the perks that you needed to get mid-round, and you just grabbed it, and now you need to try to survive for a while until you can buy the rest of your perks, you're already in the most convenient spot in the entire map. Next on my list is going to be the Juggernog location on 5. Now, even though 5 is a very difficult map, the Juggernog location honestly is not that bad, because the Juggernog location is not tucked away in a deep-ass tunnel or hallway leading to you possibly getting surrounded and trapped. It's just a little indent, which means you can pop in and pop out. That, and it's also already in the pretty much one and only training area in 5, which means that if you pick it up and you're in the middle of a round, you're immediately able to start training again, at least until the end of a round where you can hold a zombie and then get fully reset back up again. Next is going to be one of 3, I believe, locations that Juggernog can spawn in Zetsubo no Shima, and this is going to be the bunker one. The bunker is not my favorite part of Zetsubo no Shima, and I've just had no real good experiences whenever I'm in this bunker. I tend to just get killed in here. Next is Garag Krovi's Juggernog location. This, once again, is just another cramped-ass room. Need I say more? The next location is going to end up being another one that's on the Giant, and this is going to be next to the KRM wall by / one of the mystery box spawns. It is not the most egregious spot, but I would prefer it to be in one of the other spots. Next is the Juggernog or DE Juggernog location. Now, this area is crowded and it has zombie spawns. However, though, if you have a bow and you spam it into oblivion, you sometimes can get out scot-free. However, if you have no ammo on top of having no perks, going in here in the mid rounds are going to be basically a death sentence because it's way too easy to get trapped from all directions. You may rank this differently depending on your experiences compared to mine, but this is where I chose to put it on my list. Let me know about yours. Next is the Juggernog location of Revelations, which takes place in Nocturne Toten. It's one of the quickest ways to get Juggernog, given the fact that the moment you turn on the first generator, Juggernog's already on, but you're also in Nocturne Toten. So you have to hope that you can get into the fast travel system before the zombies start to spawn in that given area. Otherwise, it's a 50-50 if you'll live. Next is going to be the Juggernog location of where Quick Revive would have originally been in Derice, that's on the Giant. Now, this Juggernog location has its benefits and its weaknesses. You have the points you can get it right after turning on power, and it's near the catwalk. However, though, there's really only one way out if you don't go in through the same entrance, which is going to be through the floor, and that's a risky spot. Next is the Waterfront District in Shadows of Evil. Of all the districts in Shadows of Evil, this is my least favorite layout-wise. It is really unfavorable to the player, in my opinion, because there's just the most amount of junk that's in the way in comparison to the other two. This really fundamentally just comes down to layout preferences, but I would say that this is probably my least favorite district because this is more times than not the one that kills me. Originally, I was thinking about not including farm or town within this given list, but since I'm excluding Nuketown and Die Rise, I thought I should include them. That being said, the next thing on my list is the Jug location on farm. Now, farm doesn't necessarily have the best location, but it's farm. You're not really meant to play on this map for more than a couple of rounds. It's not like you're going to be going into like round 100 or anything. You probably will play on this until like round 15 or 20 for the average player, so it's not necessarily the biggest deal that it is not in the perfect location on this map, if that makes sense. It's a good enough location for the type of map that farm is. When it comes to Zetsubo no Shima, I would like to clarify that I don't necessarily know for 100% certainty all the Juggernog locations, but I do believe they cycle between 3 different ones. Other than the bunker, I do believe it can also spawn right here where the challenges are. However, though, I was not able to get the RNG to have specifically Juggernog land in this spot. I tried so many times just resetting the match with my Amethyst mod menu and just trying to reload it over and over and over again, but I couldn't get Juggernog to show up here other than the bunker. With that clarification out of the way, I have seen it take place here, and this is actually a preferred spot over the bunker in my opinion. If I'm gonna get Jug to land in one of the spots, I rather would have it be over there. And then just right after that location, the next spot on the list is going to end up being this one, which is going to be right next to one of the temporary power stations. It's not the bunker or the prior location next to the challenges. It can spawn right in front of me, right near this gate. It's like the last location, I was not able to get a clip of a gameplay where Juggernog landed here specifically. It was just all the other perks. Of all 3 locations, this is probably my favorite one on Zetsubo. Next is the Footlight District on Shadows of Evil. I feel like of all the districts, this one has the second least amount of clutter and therefore a slightly better layout. There's 3 different ways that I can end up leaving this area in case I get surrounded. I can use one of the 2 staircases, or I can even go up that little ramp there and fall down. This area, in my opinion, is more safe to be in long term in comparison to the Waterfront District, so that's why I'm placing it here in the list. Next is the Canals District in Shadows of Evil. This is my favorite district and one of my favorite areas to be in general in Shadows of Evil, because if I'm not downstairs in Pack-a-Punch or running just outside of spawn, I'm over in the canals, because this is one of my favorite areas to end up training in, because usually I'll just train near that one buildable bench in this area, and if Juggernog happens to be in here, it's just really easy to get Juggernog and then pop back over there. Next in the list is going to be the Juggernog location on the Giant, where it can end up spawning upstairs near the one deployable catwalk when you first turn on the power. I would say that this is probably the second best area for Juggernog to spawn in, because of all the other areas, there's only one more left where I feel like you have the best chance of survivability in this small map. Next in the list, and what I believe is the best Juggernog spot for the Giant, is just right here, because this is in one of the most high traffic areas in the entire map, and if you have to get Juggernog in mid-round, this is probably the safest spot to get it. Next is Firebase Z. Firebase Z is very similar logic-wise like Origins, but unlike Origins, Firebase Z does not have mud around the area and Juggernog's leaning up against a wall and not tucked away in a little crevice. I just have a feeling that there is going to be at least one person that's going to be disappointed that I'm putting Cold War in general so high on this list. But I'm going to be honest with you, I've always considered myself a casual zombies player, and I more times than not prefer my maps to be easier. And Cold War in its nature is just an easier game and has easier maps, so therefore it's going to be up higher on the list. It's not a diss to the older games, it's just a matter of preference. It's just easier to get Juggernog, so therefore it's going to be higher on the list. Next is Mauer der Toten's Juggernog location. We're definitely at a point in the list where a lot of these Juggernog locations are just going to be nitpicky if I have really anything to complain about them with. So I'm just going to keep this entry there for brief. This is probably going to be nostalgic for a lot of you, but does anybody remember just loading up into round 30 on town and immediately going to get Juggernog and pack-a-punching the Mustang and Sally's? I do, because that's basically how I played this map like all the time when I was a kid. And Juggernog on town is in probably one of the most convenient places in all of COD Zombies. The building that Juggernog is in on town is one of the most roomy and very forgiving rooms that it could possibly be in. Imagine this, just this simple little difference. Imagine if Juggernog switched locations with any other perk in this map. Specifically, imagine it being in one of the more inconvenient locations, rather, like the speed cola location in the bank, or even double tap next to that dumpster. Can you imagine how different town would play if that was the case? One simple change like that would affect the gameplay loop dramatically. Next in the list is Forsaken. It's almost comedic at this point on how ridiculously convenient and easy it is to get Juggernog, because on this map it takes me like maybe a minute or two to get it. And coming in at the #1 spot for the best Juggernog location in COD Zombies, this is going to D Machine. You don't need to turn on the power to get Juggernog. It is in an area where I normally train and have a high likelihood of survivability, and it's not surrounded by just random junk. It's leaned up against a wall, and it means that I don't have to worry about being in a one-way doorway with only one entrance in, one entrance out, having something random like mud or water or fire or whatever slow me down. I can just get my perk and mind my peace. That is why this is the best Juggernog location, in my opinion, in COD Zombies. So yeah guys, that is it here for today's video, and I do truly hope you guys ended up enjoying it. If you did, please consider dropping a like, comment, subscribe, follow, and all that beautiful stuff. Let me know what Juggernog locations you would rank the same or differently compared to how I did. Let me know if you would have included Nuketown and Die Rise on that list, and whether or not they would be at the bottom like for me if I were to include them in mine. But yeah, I hope you guys ended up enjoying today's video, and if you did, once again, please consider dropping a like, comment, subscribe, follow, and all the beautiful stuff. As we wrap up the video, guys, just want to mention two quick things. #1, I have a second YouTube channel now. It is called Black Ninja 797 Extras, and on this channel, I'm going to be uploading and posting additional content that you would normally not see here on my main channel, such as gameplay, walkthroughs, Challenge Accepted, which is a series I used to do here on this main channel, where I play games that you guys requested me to play, and then also funny moments with my friends. If you guys want to check out the second channel, there will be a link down below in this video's description. I also want to say thank you and shout out to Epic Games for being my first ever sponsor. I have a supporter creator code with them, and the code is just my name, Black Ninja 797 in all caps. And if you guys want to, you can use it in the Fortnite and Epic Games item shops. Anybody that uses my code or has used it before in the past, I tremendously appreciate you. All that being said, guys, I hope you end up enjoying seeing another YouTube video for one of the most unique YouTubers are ever going to see. Thanks for watching, guys. I love all of you, and peace out.
Hey, meme lords. Jesus here. And you better have enjoyed that video there by the eternal god Daddy Ninja. You should probably subscribe too, or the mighty Moab will come for your balls. If you enjoyed the video, you might like it too. And give me the memes. Flash, bang, boom!